Hey guys, I'm trying to get this to pull up, but for some reason it's being okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where does energy come from. I looked up a lot of videos and resources on this, but the answer is kind of complicated. So we know, because we've been talking about the Big Bang in this class, that energy and matter basically came about when the Big Bang happened. We can't really answer what was anywhere before the Big Bang because we can't observe anything before the Big Bang. So, like, why did the Big Bang happen? What was there before the Big Bang? We don't have any answers to those questions. Are there other Big Bangs for other universes? These are all cool astrophysicist questions, and they're trying to answer them, but we don't have to answer them in high school, which is nice because they're very hard to answer. So if you want to do that, then you're going to have to do a lot of studying, but it would be worth it to figure out where and why we all came from somewhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this in terms of the question. So in science, a lot of times our answers depend on how you're asking the question. So like if you asked me, where does energy come from? Like I don't think I could answer that question with that amount of information. I would need you to say something more specific, like, well, where does the energy in my hamburger come from? And then I could give you an answer. But I'm going to ask a couple of different questions just to show you how complicated this can all get. So, where did the energy in the universe come from? Well, remember after the Big Bang, we had nothing. So, this is a zoomed in image. Okay, we had nothing but a tiny little dot that had everything in it. And then it started to explode and expand. When that happened, the electromagnetic force was born. There's something that we don't really talk about in this class, but it's called the four fundamental forces. And they're all listed right here on this infographic. They're the electromagnetic force, gravity, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. So basically, the way I kind of think about where did all of this energy come from is that it comes from interactions with these forces. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one. Electromagnetic force includes everything on the electromagnetic spectrum, which includes like microwaves, radio waves, visible light, infrared, which is what we feel as temperature, ultraviolet, which is what we feel as a sunburn because it's like burning our cells, X-rays, gamma rays. Hopefully you don't feel very many gamma rays because you will die. And then of course X-rays, we know like you don't really feel them, but they can go through your body. So these are all parts of the electromagnetic force in the universe. So light comes from this, heat comes from this, electricity comes with this. Anything that's interacting with the electromagnetic force is what we're going to see as electromagnetic energy. So the infrared waves, we feel that as heat energy. Visible light, we see that as like all of the things around us, basically. So those types of energy are born from or come from interactions with the electromagnetic field that permeates the universe. That's the easiest one to understand. The other three are kind of hard. So gravity is all around you, and there's a gravitational field. It's called space-time. And gravitational energy comes from like your interaction with that field. Um, Everything is pulling on everything else, and that's how we get a gravitational force. So, or a gravitational energy in an object that's not moving. It can start moving, and then that energy would become kinetic. The strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force, we are going to just leave those for another day. But I'll tell you that the chemical energy and nuclear energy and all of those important energies that we get that are potential on Earth, those come from really complex interactions of very tiny particles. How do we know that stuff? Well, because scientists spend their whole entire life studying it. You haven't, so it's really hard for us to understand at this level because we're not spending all of our time learning it. So let's go to another way to ask the question. Where does the energy on the earth come from? Well, I don't know. I mean, in one way I would say it comes from the sun. Like that's my major first answer. We get all of our energy that's in any of these plants. If you are a cow and you're eating a plant and then I'm eating you, really you could trace that energy back to the sun. So I would say the sun, if you asked me that. Where does most of the energy on the earth come from? Definitely the sun. We'll learn more about that and how the sun does that in a later lesson. But if I think about it more, I mean, I could make my answer more complicated. Energy on Earth could also come from nuclear power plants or other ways that people are producing energy. We have solar panels, we burn coal, and we get a lot of energy from other things that are already here on the Earth. Those types of energies are usually potential energy that we turn into kinetic energy in the form of heat. Just so you know, these are nuclear cooling towers. And this isn't like some poisonous gas coming out of here or anything. This isn't a disaster. That's just steam. But, you know, on Earth, some of our energy comes from nuclear sources or burning things, which is changing that potential into kinetic energy. And then if I think about it even more, then I'm like, well, I'm on the Earth. Where do I get my energy? Well, I eat food. And food has a lot of chemical energy. But where did my food come from? Well, somebody grew it with energy from the sun and nutrients from the soil. And so when I think about it this way, I think, well, matter and energy play a really big role together because they're in these cycles. So here's my short answer for you guys. It's really complicated, okay? There's two things I want you to remember about it, and so I've chosen these two pictures. Okay, all the energy that is here is from the Big Bang. It just gets cycled and reused through various processes on the Earth and in the universe and in galaxies. And so that's really the best answer. It's really complicated, but the two things you always have to remember is that it's been here since the Big Bang and it cycles and moves through different processes on the Earth. Or like even the life cycle of stars, that's going to move around some energy. So I hope that that makes more sense than anything that you could find on the internet. It makes more sense to me. Have a good day.